joke.
Yeah, shit. Polar bears and hard nipples. That's what it's all about up there.
And a lot of hard nipples.
Because that's the first thing I think when I think of polar bears is hard nips. Come on.
Like, I mean... Hello and welcome to the Knights of the Hobby Table. I'm your host Blake, here with Obleron.
Greetings, guys.
And Bowen. How are we today, guys?
I'm going swell, thank you.
Yeah, we're doing great here.
Yeah. What's going on? What's popping in Hobbyland? Tell me.
Hobby-wise, I've just been working on some commissions, man. I did finish up my Primaris Captain, though. Gonna post some pictures on the Instagram for that tonight.
Ooh, I look forward to it. What sort of commissions are you doing? And do you even want to explain what a commission is to people? Just quickly.
Commission painting, basically. People just give me their plastic models and be like, well, I don't like painting, but I do, so I paint their models for them, and I receive the dollarinos.
So you would say that you slay their grey, is that correct?
That is absolutely what I do.
Yeah, and their mums too, if they're real lucky.
Oh,
what have you been up to, bro?
I just finished my Blood Throne, so I'm gonna start painting some Necrons.
Oh yeah, your Blood Throne does look good. Are you gonna add some highlights on your corn dudes though?
Maybe, we'll see. I've been working on that thing for way too long, man. I just want to start my Necrons.
Sometimes it's good to just take a break from it, step to the side, do a bit of a different
project. I've been working on it for like
really
2 months, man.
Yeah, I know. You've busted ass. And that rust effect looks top notch. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good change to do different things in between projects as well. I'm a person that likes to finish projects before I start something else, but I can definitely see when it's taking 2 months to finish something, you want to squeeze in something else just to boost your morale.
Yeah, I'm sort of like, I'll get really into a project, and then like I'm just like, okay, I can't do any more of this. I'll start another one, get that like 3/4 done, then I'll come back, finish that, and then continue on. It's it's a thing. But we all hobby in our own way, and that's okay.
Exactly. What have you been working on, Blake?
That's a good question. At the moment, I'm getting some stuff ready for my prepping my 6-foot fish tank to get my Oscars in there. I'm about to go on holidays, so that'll be done soon. I just got to repair the stand and do a whole bunch of fishy shit. Other than that, yeah, I got a new guitar, so I adjusted that bad boy. I've been playing that a little, and yeah, been a few Primaris. Got the Eradicators up next. Keen to get into that and get going, and yeah, lots of gaming in between.
Sounds epic, man.
Yeah,
so epic.
You sent me some pics of that new Ibanez 7-string there, and I'm feeling the itch for a 7-string myself again. But
it's infectious. Once you get the 7-string itch, you know.
Oh man, it's great.
You can ease the symptoms, but you can never cure it.
No, definitely not. No such thing. Yeah.
Oh, so guys, today I was thinking we should talk about Warhammer as a hobby. What do you guys think about that, huh?
But Blake, could you explain to me what is Warhammer?
Well, I could. We could do this a very long form or short form. We're going to go a short form. Warhammer is basically a fantasy universe. You know, there's about 3 of them actually, but primarily it's a tabletop war game with miniatures that correspond with that. So you have Warhammer 40,000, you have Age of Sigmar, and you have Lord of the Rings as well, like Lord of the Rings battle game. We used to have fantasy as well, but that was superseded by Age of Sigmar. And yeah, it's basically you buy these awesome models, you paint them up, and you play like a really detailed version of Risk almost. You know, like it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of different facets to it. You know, it's pretty top notch. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's like a really big amount of lore surrounding this whole game as well. Mostly 40,000, I'd say. They're up in like the 500, 600 books already for.
Is that many?
I think so. I think it's around 400 or 500, man.
I know there's like, a lot.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's like books coming out every day, every month or something. So it's insane.
Jesus, Murphy.
Oh yeah. But you guys you used to collect Age of Sigmar, so maybe you guys know something more about the Age of Sigmar, actually.
Look, I can't talk about the lore, because honestly, I know fuck all about it. You know, I used to read a bit of fantasy stuff, but not too much. But I can say, the game, very fun, very easy to get into.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's pretty good. Bone, what's your experience with Age of Sigmar, man?
I have a fuck ton of chaos that I still haven't painted. That I still need to paint. Like I have what, like an entire star collecting box still left, because I ditched that for the demons that I did, if you remember.
To be fair, I still have a half a starter box too. Remember?
And then we just had to get that Indominus box, and now it's like, Necrons, they're a thing.
Oh yeah.
It's.
I wake up in a cold sweat at night thinking, I need to paint those Necrons.
Mate, it's Australia. Sweating is not optional. Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying a cold sweat because I have an air conditioner, so I'm still sweating. Just it's a cold sweat, you know.
Well, I'm glad you can see your models from your tower, Your Highness.
Don't. What tower?
Frosted ice tower.
Unless you're talking about a tower of debt, sure.
Oh. Yeah, personally, I don't actually have that much to do with Age of Sigmar. Like, I have been looking a lot at their models, and their models, compared to the 40k ones, I think their model range is a lot better than anything in the 40k range.
I think the reason why Age of Sigmar models slap so fucking hard is because, yes, you get a lot of stuff for the Stormcast, but all the other factions get releases, and they all get like cool models.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh look, here's another Primaris Lieutenant. Like, you do get that a bit, but it's like fucking, you know, here's a giant orc frog looking motherfucker. Like, shit like that, so cool, and they do centerpiece models very well. Very well. Yeah, I mean,
we're mostly into the 40k aspect, and probably we know probably a little bit more about the lore aspect in 40k as well. The big picture, at least.
But quickly, before we get into 40k, we'll just touch on Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
quickly, just because it's a lot smaller. Lord of the Rings, they did like basically Warhammer, but you play either the good side or the bad side sort of thing in like different factions. You put them on the table. It's actually how I got into Warhammer in the first place. In the early 2000s, they did like a fucking subscription magazine that came with some models, and I started painting goblins, and you know, once you go goblin, you don't go back. So yeah, then I got into it. I bought a White Dwarf magazine and was like, what is this? I found Space Marines. And now we're here doing a podcast about little grey models.
exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to explain too much about the Lord of the Rings lore either, because you can just go and watch the movies and have a great old time.
Yeah, I think that's all we're going to say. I just want to explain how the game relates to what we're already doing.
Yeah, it's definitely a very similar approach to 40k and AOS. Paint your minis, put them out on the field, have a game. Enjoy
that fucking grey, dude.
That's it.
But yeah, 40k. Do you want to tell us a bit about it, Obi?
Yeah, man. There's this thing called the Emperor. No, I think there's just a huge portion of things, and if we're gonna actually get into the lore, we might have to take like very small snippets of it, because like we said, there's like 400-500 books already out, and
It's like
I'm not sure that we can
years
fit
of it.
that in one episode of a podcast.
Mate, we couldn't fit that in one lifetime.
Could you summarize all 500 books in a minute?
In a single sentence, I could probably say that it's a very gothically inspired universe, but in the future. It's 40,000 years in the future. Well, that's where they're at somewhere now in the lore, at least. We're middle of the Indomitus Crusade, hence the launch of Ninth.
It's like Powerwolf, but in model form. With Space Marines.
Oh, there is a lot of things to say. There's a lot of different factions. We talked about the Space Marines before. Bowen's mentioned the Necrons, which are a Egyptian metal-looking race. God, what else?
To simplify it, they look a bit like Terminators, but way cooler. Like Terminators from like Arnie, like I'll be back. They look a bit like that, but they got like cool living metal. They're really fucking rad with Egyptian stuff thrown in it. Really cool.
Agreed. Definitely agree there. We have the Empyrean side, which mainly is Space Marines. They also have the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Woo!
They have, Imperial Knights. Whoa. Sisters of Battle. Why don't we touch on Sisters of Battle?
Oh, I would like to touch on some Sisters of Battle. But unfortunately, they are battle nuns, and they ain't getting none. They're just faithful to the God Emperor, as everyone should be.
Correct. Lots of. It's basically a female-only faction that, believes very strongly in the Emperor and protecting the faith.
Honestly, and they're fucking badasses too. Like, you know, most factions in it, like, they're either stronger than human or they're, like, you know, superpowered humans that wear power armor. And these chicks are just like, nah, fuck you, we'll wear it anyway. Like, they're badasses, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically just normal humans in power armor. No enhancements anywhere. And then I think the last faction in the Imperium is probably the Guard, the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, there's a lot more in lore, but as for what's represented on tabletop,
yeah, definitely. The Imperial Guard are also the faction that we have the most of, because humanity has spread across the whole universe a whole lot, and they have a lot of different sub-factions in each of those.
Do we
I don't think there's any more.
Do we want to touch on the chaos a bit?
Yes, that's actually what I wanted to jump in about next, actually. What do we have in Chaos? We have the Chaos Space Marines.
Well, do you just want to explain quickly why Chaos is a thing?
Oh, there is this thing called the Horus Heresy. If we're gonna get into that a lot deeper, we're gonna have to explain the Emperor and the Primarchs. And
the real thing is the fact that most magic in this universe stems from something called the Warp, which is basically like a separate realm that bleeds over into the Materium. So anyone that's using psychic powers, shooting light bulbs, lightning. Oh my god! Imagine light bulbs. That'd be a lot of glass to clean up. But you know, anything like that, crazy powers, foresight, that sort of stuff, that all comes from the Warp. Yeah. Now, generally, Chaos soldiers and like not just Marines, there's cultists and all sorts of shit. They are worshippers of either one or all of the Chaos gods, which we'll go into sometime, but not today. But basically, if the Imperium are what you would call good guys, these guys are what you'd call the opposite of that, bad guys. But in Warhammer, there is no good guys. Everyone's a jerk. And that's
Everyone's
what makes it cool.
Bad guy. That's it. That's definitely it. You just want to quickly touch on which 4 gods there are, perhaps, because they are quite cool, actually.
Oh. Yeah.
I think my favorite one would definitely be Tzeentch with scheming master plans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Zeech is rad. He's like you said, he's the master of plans and things like that. There's Nurgle. He basically is responsible for all the pestilence and disease in the universe.
Slanesh.
Yeah,
that's
the kinky god.
Explain Slanesh.
We will touch on that one, all right.
Ooh. No, it's Slanesh will touch on you.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
That's the
Oh,
way
yeah.
It goes. You crab claw up the wazoo. But basically, Slanesh is a god birth of excess. It represents anything in excess, not just sex, like violence, drugs, anything like that. All the crazy shit in excess that just feeds Slanesh.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's probably the most popular one, which is Khorne. You know, skulls for the skull throne, blood for the blood god. We all know it. Sometimes we eat cornflakes for breakfast, and it is what it is.
Insert Khorne impression here.
Where's Jonathan Davis? Did we forget to pay him?
Oh, no.
Fuck! How do we screw this up? Come on.
Yeah,
Every
GW, you're a
damn
payment
time.
behind. No.
Yeah, but the Chaos Gods, they basically infected all the different Space Marine factions as well and corrupted them to chaos. They have also corrupted the Knights, for example. There's also a Chaos Knight faction. They spread to the humans.
Basically, anything the Imperium has, there's like a Chaos version.
Exactly.
More or less.
Exactly.
And, there's also the Eldar and the Dark Eldar, Space Elves, we're not going to go into it too much, but look at them, they're fucking cool.
Yeah. Those are the Xenos factions, though. I think the Eldar don't really fit under Chaos as much, so I think we're going to hop on to the Xenos.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we should spend too much time on this exact thing, but, there's Xenos, there's Eldar, which are Space Elves, there's Dark Eldar, which are cranky Space Elves.
Yeah.
There's Tyranids, which are basically xenomorphs, but they like to eat shit more.
Yeah.
There's
the
Necron. Necron. Orcs, the green guys,
Exactly, yeah. And
Which,
there
interesting.
are many sub-minor Xenos races that don't really get that much attention, but those are at least the major races in the universe.
Yeah. And basically, the only reason we gave this little overview isn't even to touch on lore, really. It's just an overview. My advice, if you get into it, you want to get into Warhammer, just look at the models. Whatever takes your eye is like, hey, that's really fucking cool. Read up about them a bit.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Yeah, there are definitely a huge amount of really cool factions. The lore is gonna help you a little bit to get into the hobby and learn a little bit more about the stuff. It will probably send you on your way to probably pick your own army if you're interested in one, and I highly recommend that you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Now, so when you buy these models, guys, we all know it comes in a nice little box. What do you do from there? Like, what's the first step, Bo? Like, can you take us through when you first bring that box home? What you gotta do to get it from box to, like, kicking ass?
First step, you admire the box because it costs you a bit of money. And then you get scared about the fact that you don't want to open it. That's a joke, you do want to open it.
But you push through that fear.
First step is, it comes with a manual. I would highly recommend you read the manual so you don't put the wrong pieces on the wrong models, for one. Like I've done quite a lot when I first started.
There's no wrong pieces, only happy accidents, okay?
Thanks, Blake Ross.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I mean, first step, you just want to... The manuals will usually start with your basic, like, rank and file troops. Like your cheap ones that, when you're playing the game, don't cost a lot of points to, put on the field. It'll tell you how to assemble them. and then you can choose whether you want to assemble as you're assembling, assemble a paint while you assemble. God damn it! Or you can just paint the entire thing in one go, fully assembled.
Yeah, definitely. Sub-assemblies are definitely a really handy way to get behind the bolter that's in front of the Space Marine. Because otherwise you're going to have a real hard time painting that Aquila.
Especially old school Space Marines, man. Their bolters were so tight to their chest. Yeah. There was no fucking way to do it, man. None. There might have been, but I'm not a wizard, so it was out of my reach.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so what you guys are saying really is that assembly and painting is required for these.
Yeah, they don't come painted in the box, sadly. But it's a whole really fun experience to get to that point and being able to put them on the table.
Well, I mean...
Honestly, I think if they did come that way, I probably wouldn't be as into the hobby, because I mostly model.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I'm probably more into the painting aspect and designing aspect than the actual tabletop game itself.
Yeah, I think for me it's probably the opposite. Assembly is probably my least favorite bit, and then I love the painting aspect, and I actually do play quite a lot on the table as well. So there's a lot of different ways to actually engage in this hobby. For example, like doing the modeling, the painting aspect of it. The playing aspect is also a good thing. But there are a few different things besides actually that. We mentioned the lore. There are a lot of books to start reading. And there are also a ton of video games.
That's my department, man.
Do we have a personal favorite here?
Now that I think about it...
Actually, this is going to be very controversial. But Warhammer 40,000 Fire Warrior
on the PlayStation 2. I was about to say, that is probably my introduction to Warhammer. The first thing... anything Warhammer related I consumed was that game on PS2. Goddamn, me and Blake just played through that game again recently, and it still holds up. It's still such a fun game to play.
It's got some jank, but I highly recommend it.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of PS2 games still have jank.
Yeah. And, like, honestly, that game, although it is a little unrealistic to the lore where, like, you're a fire warrior and you're fighting shit like dreadnoughts and you're still living...
Yeah.
It shows you. I think that's the only game I've found where it shows you how fucking terrifying an Astartes is against a normal troop.
Yes.
Like, the first time you encounter the Astartes, there's 3 of them, and you're inside of a spaceship, and, like, you shit bricks. There's no way around it. Like, they are so hard to kill, and it's like, fuck me dead. Everything else has just been little guardsmen, and you can, like, blow them up. These motherfuckers are just like, they're terrifying, man.
They're towering as well. Like, I remember even when we were playing, because I hadn't played it since I was a wee lad. I generally got a jump out of it. I was like, oh shit, they're massive.
I actually didn't get to experience that. I since I just recently jumped into it. Well, recently started.
Man, if you can find a PlayStation 2 for cheap, buy that game. You will not regret it. You will thank me.
I think a personal favorite of mine would probably be in between Space Marine or Mechanicus. Mechanicus being more of a strategy style game where you move your tech priests around. Versus you're versusing Necrons awakening from their tomb, and that's a really cool concept. And the music in that game, man, I love that music. I could listen to that while I'm working, just going ahead and crank it, man. It's so unique of a music. Yeah.
I've not played it, but I'll definitely look into it. The other good one, if you're a Diablo fan, is Inquisitor Martyr. It's pretty much a straight Diablo clone, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. Like, the graphics aren't that great. There's a few downsides to it, but it's a good game. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, well, I did do me a few grinding in Diablo 3. Oof, so many hours. Jesus
Just
Christ.
Going back on the Mechanicus game you're talking about, the closest game I could probably relate that to would be XCOM. Picture XCOM, but just with Warhammer. You play as Mechanicus versing the Necrons.
That's cool.
Even though it's not out yet, I still just want to bring it up. The new Dark Tide game. Oh,
that looks cool. That looks cool.
If you want a game that's like Left 4 Dead but Warhammer, this is your game.
Yeah, same as Vermintide actually. It's Fantasy Universe, not 40k, but those games are fun as hell.
Yeah.
So that's a really good way to engage with it. It really is. Like, I mean, we all play Space Marine together. That's a hoot. You know, a lot of screaming. It's no good for blood pressure, but it's good for the lols. You know.
Definitely. Yeah. We definitely have a few nights of playing Space Marine, versing each other, and a couple other friends. It's usually most fun with friends.
It's like a friendship tester. It's like Monopoly. You know, because the friends after Space Marine, after someone shoots you with that stupid fucking Stalker Bolter or Burst Flyer, then you know you're real friends. Otherwise, don't even worry. Don't even worry about it.
I was going to say, I could feel everyone's blood boiling when I just jumped down with a chainsaw and just chopped them up. I could feel it. I could feel it boil.
Yeah, Space Marine is definitely a game that's up there, and we are also eagerly awaiting the next Space Marine game, Space Marine 2.
Yeah, so, there's that. People also play RPGs in the setting. Like, I can't remember the names of them, but, like, there are a couple. Like role-playing games.
There's a Death Watch one.
So, like Dungeons and Dragons, but you're in the Warhammer 40,000 setting, so that's really cool. There's so many ways to engage with this hobby, so much. Like, some people just consume the art, the actual artwork, and it's understandable because it's so top tier. Like, the art of it is fucking metal as hell.
Oh yeah, just open the core rule book and slam any page open, and you'll see so much cool stuff.
I was going to say, even like the little cardboard cutouts that come in, like, you know, like our Indomitus box, for example, that we got. Like, just those little pieces of cardboard that are just hyper detailed. And it's just like, this is literally going to just be a piece of cardboard that you would usually throw out. But now I don't want to, because this looks amazing.
Yeah. I still have my Indomitus box. I use it to store my screws. Because I can't throw it away. No. I can't throw it away. It looks so good.
That would be heresy.
Yeah.
That's how you get Inquisitors on your ass.
That would be what we call a hobby heresy.
Hobby heresy.
I like that.
And, I mean, the other thing is, too, like, bit of a downside, is just how fucking expensive this hobby can be. Like, it doesn't have to be, but there is going to be cost. You have your paints, you have your brushes, your equipment, right? Which is fine, because, like, you don't have to replace them that often if you look after them. But buying models is expensive. Me and Bowen, we missed out on the launch of Indomitus, and we paid, like, dumb cunt prices for ours. We paid, like, $400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, like, a lot of money. Like, we halved it, but still, you know? So, like, the thing I wanted to say particularly is when you're getting into this, don't feel like you have to buy a combat patrol or something gigantic. Get your basic paints, decide on what you want, figure out how you're going to highlight it and stuff, and just pick up a box of infantry. Or one or two guys. Don't overcommit to it. Like, don't over Kermit the Frog to this. No. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know of a certain Belgian man that may have done something to that effect.
Yeah, I think since I started also with the Indomitus box, like many other hobbyists out there, I was already browsing before I assembled my Necrons, so I think the first 3 months I ended up with like 2,000-3,000 points of Necrons.
Oh Jesus!
That's a lot of Necrons.
I bought a lot of stuff in the first months, and I actually got most of it painted. I have like 2 Necron models left. No, 4, because I got 2 more in a gift on Christmas. So
I think the big thing is just be sensible, right? Like, don't...
Yeah.
If you got the money to spend, go for it. Whatever. But if you spend outside of your means for a hobby, that's probably not a good idea. And number 2, like, just looking at a big pile of unpainted models can sometimes be very demoralizing.
Yeah.
You know, you're better off getting in one box, finishing it, and then having those models painted in front of you to look at when you do your next box. It's like inspiration. You know, because you can see how you're painting them, how you can do better, that sort of stuff. And I think that's really key to having a good hobby work rate and like just enjoying it. Because if you feel like shit about it, you're not gonna have fun, and it's gonna fuck it for you ultimately. You know, so just be smart. Don't be silly.
Yeah, and GW sadly is one of those companies that does use the fear of missing out tactics. So they can like slap out a new really awesome box, put the limited words somewhere in there, and it's like your only chance to buy this box. So you're just gonna go to your local GW or order it online when it's pre-order date, and just spend money that you actually don't really need to spend because you're only after one of those models in the whole box, which you could wait for and buy it later.
I had this funny feeling that GW's been hanging out with Nintendo a little.
Oh, Jesus.
If we don't get a Super Mario Marine, I'm gonna fucking riot.
Super Mario Marine.
Oh, have you seen the Toy Story Marine?
Oh, no.
Oh, the Buzz Lightyear one?
Buzz Lightyear. My god, that's so cool.
Okay, I see your Buzz Lightyear Marine, and I raise you Skeletor Necro.
Yes! Dude, do you know how tempted I was to do Skeletor designs for my Necrons? It was so tempting.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, I love that, actually. Just quickly, it's one of my favorite things in this is, like, the shit you can do to make your models yours. Like, yeah, you can choose chapters already made up with your Space Marines. Or you can do what I did and make a Jurassic Park themed one.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
all of my models are in the colours of the Jurassic Park Jeeps. And I would have it no other way, you know?
Yeah.
There's dinos going on. Eventually there's going to be Marines riding dinosaurs, so stay tuned for that, folks.
Oh, I'm eager to see that, how that turns
Some
out. It's
fucking
gonna look
heresy.
amazing.
I'm also very
Or
keen
it's
for
gonna-
my custom Space Marine chapter I'm doing that I told you about, Blake. The Space Bears.
Oh, the
Space
Space
Bears.
Bears.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, you saw that on a YouTube thing, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're like, I want to do Space
Pretty much,
Bears.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tabletop
I was
time,
a
yeah.
very standard bitch and I did Blonde Angels. I just changed up the color scheme a tiny bit, but they're essentially Blood Angels.
To be fair, Blood Angels are cool as fuck.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the Emperor and Sanguinius. Like, go read The Devastation of Baal. Do it.
Yes, highly recommend that book. Yeah, so good. Nids versus the Blood Angels.
Yeah.
Definitely a very enjoyable book.
Yeah. But read Dante first as a primer. Just saying. Did you do it that way? Did you read Dante first?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
But they
bro,
do have it
Dante-
all on Humble Bundle right now, so I might. might go.
Dante is like a little primer before you read Devastation
okay.
of Baal. It's fantastic.
Alright. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that book. Alright, now this is where I definitely take a back seat, and probably Bowen too, actually. Obi, tell us about the gaming side of it. Because, like, I've played some Warhammer, I've played some AOS.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience with it.
Starting out, I definitely took it a little bit slower. I painted up a few troops and a few fast attack units and a HQ, so I could basically make like a 500 point army and start going to the store and play with other people. There was a huge core rule book, and I'm pretty sure that I'm still not having rules right when I'm playing now, but it does definitely help to have a person explain to you at least the start of the mechanics and how things work. You'll always be able to go back to the rule book later and research on if there's something you did wrong or not.
Yeah.
Now the game does have unique rules for each and every army. For example, the Necrons, they're basically immortal robots, and their gimmick is reanimation. So,
like Linkin Park.
They do not reanimate just like that. But the game is played with dice, so on a dice roll of a 5, for example, or a 4 with a reanimation beam from the reanimator, which is a terrible model, a cool model, but it's not good on the tabletop. It will come up on a 4+, so you put your model back on the table and just smile because your opponent is really hating you after putting so many bolter shots into your little Necron boys.
I was gonna say I've only played one game of 40k, and that first game I chose Necrons just to use reanimation.
Yeah.
And my buddy who I was versing was using Tau, and he was getting pissed because I kept landing reanimation.
It was like, my cloven foot fish people can't kill you. What do I do?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So every faction does have their unique gimmick, and they're good at one thing, but then they're not as good at the other thing, which kind of makes for a kind of a balanced game. Now the game has been a little bit skewed lately, but thank God they do put out FAQs every now and then, so it does keep it balanced and competitive to play.
Don't they sometimes nerf your faction to the ground and make you a very grumpy Obi?
It does, yeah. My poor knights have been on the bottom of the bracket this whole edition. They give us a buff, and then the next FAQ they take it away. So yeah, it does anger a lot of meta players. But on the other hand, it's still a game. What are you gonna do about it? And it's hard to balancing these things because there are so many rules, so many awesome miniatures that have their own individual rules. So it's hard to balance these things, and these things will balance them out in the long run. And if not, there's always 10th edition.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, they probably do a decent job. Otherwise, the game wouldn't exist anymore.
No,
you know, like, if it was just fucked and just broken, no one would touch it. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, but
it's more popular than it's ever been at the moment, which is awesome as hell.
Yeah, that's it, man. And the game, there are a lot of people that play the game, and you'll be able to pick up the rules from playing a few games or even watching battle reports on YouTube. I do spend a lot of time at the beginning to learn how all the things work, but it's just cool to go out and meet up with your friends and go throw some dice and win a game or lose some. If you go in with the expectations of having a good time, you will have a good time. If you're going in with the expectations to win your games, you better be really good at your faction then.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the other thing is too, like, you did mention it's a dice game, right?
Yeah.
So you can be fucking strategically sound, but sometimes the fifth Chaos God, the Dice God, is not on your side, and you're fucked, and there's nothing you can do about it. So there is that randomness to it, you know?
Yeah, I definitely had that issue. The Custodes recently got their new Codex book. I've been collecting them for a little while, haven't started painting them yet. And I've been playing them on Tabletop Simulator, and I have not been having good luck with my Custodes. I'm rolling a lot of 1s, which is the bane of their existence, because they hit on 2s. They hit on 2s, save on 2s, they wound you mostly on 2s. Yeah. And rolling 1s is just, it makes you cry.
Sometimes the Dice Gods are cruel, man.
They are, definitely. We're talking about TDS. That's
TDs?
actually, yeah, TDs. Tabletop Simulator. It's a program, an app on your computer that basically.
It's a Steam game, right?
It's a Steam game. Yeah, and it basically gives you the option to play on your computer with people all across the world, and that's what I've been doing the past 2 weeks as well, just playing a lot of TTS with people.
My understanding is it's a very good way to test new lists as well, right? So instead of spending couple of $100 on this build of an army or whatever, you can play it against your friends and figure out what you got to swap in, swap out, what works, and then you can nail a concrete list to actually build in real life.
Yeah,
which is very handy.
That's definitely something that I've been doing with the Custodes now. I don't have 2,000 points just yet, and I'm gonna be playtesting a few times more to just see which units are definitely worth buying and which I could probably do without. So there's no need to buy unnecessary a lot of models. Just buy the ones that you need, and then if you want to buy a model that you actually think that looks cool, try and make it work in your army. Because rule of cool is still a thing.
It's worth noting too that like if you're just in it for the modeling, you can just buy a model because it looks cool and paint it as a centerpiece. Like it's so common.
Exactly.
You know, I have no business owning a Robot Golem model because I do not do Ultramarines, but I'm gonna paint that guy up and it's gonna look awesome. You know, like I'm keen.
Yeah, definitely a really good thing about hobbying is that you can just take pieces from a model that you like and put it on another model. It would be total heresy, but at least you're doing something and you're creating your own vision of what your models are supposed to look like. Do your own thing with it.
Exactly. Do things your way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know Bowen, for instance, has this really good ability to paint models to look as disgusting as possible.
You know I do.
The way he does flesh, it's gross, and I love it.
Well, I mean, look, like I've painted a majority of my models are chaos, and like my interpretation of chaos is that they're gross, they're disgusting. You know, so they have like really sickly looking skin. You know, like my demons have like blood coming out of their mouths, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they don't exactly brush their teeth or get much vitamin
exactly.
D.
They're
so
not like pristine, you know, like some Space Marines and stuff like that, right? Yeah. You know, like even like my weapons, I paint them to look like they've been through many battles. And I mean, some of the stuff on my models, I try to make it look like they've just picked it up to keep fighting. You know, because then
just like improv weapons.
Yeah, pretty much.
I want to see you do a whole like group of chaos guys with spoons, like just large oversized soup spoons as weapons,
preferably rusty as well.
Rusty spoons, that way they can like spoon
the Space Marines will run in fear from tetanus.
Spoon Marines.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's funny. Okay, now guys, if you could go back to when you first started Warhammer, what advice do you wish someone had given you? Or what advice do you have to give someone starting Warhammer? Like, Bo, I know you've got a pretty good one there.
Yes, I do, Blake. I do indeed. So, for the longest time, I would paint my models without watering them down. Like, I wouldn't water the paint down. So I'd just dip my brush into the pot of paint, put it on the palette, and boom, just go straight at it.
Which is of course hobby heresy.
Yeah, that's a very good way to go through your paints very quickly. But recently I picked up something called a wet palette, which pretty much is a normal palette except it's slightly wet, so it's a lot easier to water down your paint as well on it and mix your paints as well.
It's basically a container with a layer of sponge and then a layer of like parchment paper.
Yeah.
And your paints go on top of the parchment paper and they stay hydrated because of the water underneath them.
Yeah.
But like
you can basically store your paints for a very, very, very long time with them.
Not in Australia, but
definitely
it's a good
not,
idea in theory.
Oh, you have to keep adding some water every now and then. So.
No, bro. Like it's most of the time they're dead by the next day or the one after.
Oh man,
Australia's rough.
And
I think I have the opposite.
Little quick tip, if you're listening in the land down under, make sure you shut your paint lids properly as well. If you don't, they're basically destroyed. The amount of paint pots that I have ruined after just buying them because I didn't shut the lid properly is ridiculous.
Would you like to tell people about your quick success story of resurrecting the lead belcher that one time?
Okay. This is a story for you, gentlemen.
This is some Nurgle
This
shit
is
right
some
here.
Aussie stuff right here. So, I forgot to shut my lead belcher lid properly, and it dried up. Now, you can try and restore your paint by just adding a bit of water, and usually most of the time that works. Problem was, at this particular point in time, I didn't have water easily accessible. So what did I use to water my paint? That's right. Some good old Great Northern beer.
Oh.
And let me tell you, to my surprise and also Blake's surprise, because we paint together, the paint was even better than it was before it dried up. Like, I don't know what happened, but it was a lot better. It was even more metallic than it originally was, and I don't understand why. I'm just
Everything's more metal when you add beer.
I'm just accepting the fact that it happened. There's only one downside to using beer to
in your paints.
in your paints, and that is it will work up quite the stench. Like after what was it, a month, I reused my lead belcher, and it smelled like straight just methanol. It was awful.
It's not nice.
It was awful.
Yeah.
But, you know, in a pinch, it worked. It was fun.
Yeah, it worked. That is like the most Australian way to fix paint I can think of. Right?
Yeah. I agree.
I think hopping onto that paint discussion, because GW paints, they're good paints, but they're paint pot design, man. It's oh my god, no.
Oh, my sweet summer child. You've only known one type of GW paint pot. Back in my day, they had screw cats.
That would have been so much better.
No.
What?
No, it was not. Because it gets all gummed up, and then you either can't do it up, or you can't undo it. You need the strength of the Emperor to get your paint and liberate it from the pot.
And even then, it's
I
still
tell
kind
you.
of pushing it.
And then they went to these other flip-top ones, which are great, until the little hinges wore out, and then all of a sudden you're just like fucking smashing your lid down on top. Any hobby veterans that listen to this, they will know what I'm talking about. It was not a fucking good time. Please just give us dropper bottles. Please,
Yeah.
Citadel, by the Emperor. We beseech you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm probably gonna start investing in some pop bottles, and gonna do the old transfer to dropper bottles. I think it will help out so much.
Messy though.
It is, but it will be worth it, I think.
Maybe. Or
But-
you can use other paint brands, not Citadel.
Yeah.
Also an option. Now, my local store did not have any other brands than Citadel, so I sadly had to go with that. I would love to try out Vallejo, though.
We're quite lucky here in where we are, because we're near Brisbane, and we have a very large hobby store about 30 minutes away. It's a 2-story one, and they have a whole fucking like aisle of different paints. Tamiya, Vallejo, Army Painter, like they sell everything but Citadel. And it's very handy, and I can see Bowen and I taking quite a few excursions there for this podcast. For some future endeavours, but that is a classified secret for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you need me to, I'll check out some paints. If you want me to send you some over, Obi, let me know.
Oh, I think it will definitely work out fine. I'll be able to buy them online, because that's.
Oh, you probably
also
can get them cheaper. Actually, I live in Australia. Everything. is
Yeah,
cheaper.
I think buying stuff online can
Ooh.
sometimes help the wallet out. So do check out some price differences every now and then. Blake, do you have any good tips for us?
Look, man, the one thing that I definitely want to impress upon people is the fact that use rattle cans and contrast paints to your absolute advantage. Alright, so like, when I first started my Stormcast Eternals, I was painting them black, like old school, and I was hand doing every base coat on that gold. Now, like, my gold has like 4 or 5 layers to it to make it pop. But eventually, I was like, oh, they sell the gold that I need for the base coat. And it was like someone flipped on a light switch. All of a sudden, I was just like, you know, make a model, hit it with the gold, do a bit of a touch up to get it to the exact right pigment, it's like 4 times faster. So use cans and use contrast paints to your advantage.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't have those tools when I first started this hobby, but we do now. So there's no excuse not to use them. I'm not saying to rely on them, but use them as a tool. You know? Especially if you're a beginner. Especially.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I've had the luck of my store, or well, general Europe has not been able to get any GW colors in anywhere because of the new Brexit laws. So I've been having to buy black primer, man, and I'm painting Blood Angels. They're red, so I'm gonna have to do all the base coating and stuff, and it's a drag. Try and find at least a primer in the color of your army. That's the majority of the model. And
I mean, my go-to is still black. I love black, and we use that on probably 80% of my models.
Yeah.
But if I was doing, say, example, Necrons, like Bowen's about to, I would hit them with a lead belcher base, the whole model, and then I would black out any parts that aren't going to be metallic, and I would build the pigments up from there. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
There's many ways to skin a Necron, especially if they're a flayed one, but that's how I'd do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And you also mentioned contrast paints, which are such a good tool to have. I personally use, for my Blood Angels, going back to them, I base them in Mephiston Red and slap a Blood Angels contrast paint over it so it creeps into crevices in all the armor panels. And I've been getting so many compliments about how my armor looks, and it's the easiest thing to do. It's just 2 colors, Mephiston Red and a contrast paint, and it just does so much.
When you slap it on, do you tell the model it's a naughty little Blood Angel, or
it definitely is? They stare back at me and be like, "Oh, Daddy, why did you do this to me?"
Oh no! Oh god!
Oh fuck! Great, now I'm on the internet saying "ooh, how far we have come." Every day we stray further from the light of the Emperor.
Definitely do. Oh.
Alright, Bolin, have you got anything else, man, that you would like to add to that? Like, just shit you wish that people told you, or were you lucky enough to have me as a guide when you started?
Well, another big tip, which thankfully you were there to get me out of, is don't dip the entire, like, brush bristles into the pot of paint. Don't do that. Only do the tip. Just the tip, man. That's all you need.
Just the tip, gentlemen and ladies. Just the tip.
Just the tip. Men, ladies, whatever you want to identify as. Just the tip.
We're all inclusive
we are
here,
very
but just use the tip.
Just use the tip. That's all you need.
That's right. And the reason for that is if you get paint up into the collar, which is where the metal part meets your bristles of your brush, what will happen is it'll dry and it'll eventually make it spread out like a flower opening, and it'll be no good to anyone.
Yeah, that's a good way to ruin your brushes. Yeah.
It's a fantastic way. If that's what you're shooting for, definitely get paint all up in it. But I don't advise it because brushes are expensive and anybody got time for that.
That is true.
I got a really good tip though, especially if you're starting out, because you'll eventually. There are a lot of techniques with painting that require a little bit of practice, and it doesn't really matter if you make a mistake, because either you can paint over it if you've not painted with paint straight from the pot, or you can just strip the whole model, and there are definitely a fair good amount of techniques to do stripping of models, and you'll be able to just start again from new. So don't be afraid to try things.
I don't feel like we need to cover that right now, but if you find yourself in that position between now and say when we actually do talk about that, plenty of fucking YouTube videos by people far more qualified to talk on the subject than us.
Yeah.
But it involves some form of solvent and a lot of toothbrushing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I've definitely done my fair share of stripping, and
Really?
I wish
Did you
I
pay
had.
for your college?
Don't like that. No, I definitely wish I had an electric toothbrush at some point to scrape it all off. I was looking at my own personal toothbrush, like, should I really? Oh, paint doesn't taste good.
Just eat it, bro. That's funny.
Yeah.
Actually, when I first met you, the first time I met you, you were on camera, just like fucking giving it your all on these Imperial nights, just like flicking paint up in your face, looking like a hot mess. And,
I still have the paint splatters on my screen, actually.
Wipe your fucking computer, you heathen.
But it's stuck. It's in there. It's paint.
We can strip models, but we can't get paint off a screen.
Yeah. Can't use chemicals there, man. That's no good. Water and electronics, no good.
It's fine. Lick a power socket, you'll be fine.
What? Is that speaking from experience?
Yes.
Oof.
I did once drink kerosene, but we'll get into that another time.
Oh my!
It was an accident.
Oh no.
Anyway, yeah. So the other thing is too, like, just a quick bit of advice from me, is to understand that bases are so fucking easy if you want them to be. Like, when you make a model, you paint it, you can do a 10 out of 10 job on the model, but if you put it on a black plastic base, in my opinion, it automatically drops down to a 6.
Yeah.
Like, it just detracts so much. But if you take your time, do a simple base, there's so many tools out there for it now. Prime your base, hit it with some texture paint, add a little bit of verticality and a tuft or two of grass, and you're done.
Yeah.
And it will make your model look so much better, especially because not only can you use it to contrast whatever paints you've used on your model, like color-wise, contrast and complementing them, you can also tell a narrative if you want. Like, for me and my friends, so Bowen plays Necrons in 40k, our friend Bevan, he plays Tyranids, right? And I have a whole heap of old Necrons and Tyranid bits. So I chop them up and put bits on my bases here and there, like hidden little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
On my base to show, like, this is a battlefield where this is going down. Like, one of my assault intercessors is leaping like Mario style, but with a chainsword over a disembodied Necron, Tyranid with blood everywhere. It didn't take much effort. It took me like 10 minutes to make the little base and paint it, and probably another 20 to get it painted. Yeah. But that model, you look at it, like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Whereas, and paint your rims of your base black when you're done. For tidiness, please.
You just add a contrasting paint to the base. For
Whatever
example,
color you want to do, grey, brown.
Yeah. My bases are very, very, very easy. They are basically just a technical paint, the Astro Granite, and then I just slap two dry brushes over it, slap a few grass tufts in there, and I'm done. And they look good. And I've definitely done the same for all of my armies, because narratively I want them to be from the same planet. So if I'm playing at home, I can have everything looking similar with my own models.
Yeah.
So,
see, I use I bought this stuff. It's for model trains. It's like cork, like stripping, and I break that up into little bits and glue it on top of each other, and I sculpt it in little rock layers. Yeah. And I use that to introduce verticality into my into my bases, and then over all that, so I'll super glue that down. I'll figure out where I want it. I'll figure out where I want my marine to stand. I'll prime the whole thing. I'll add any trees and stuff like that. I want there. Like, you can buy little bits of foliage from GW or third-party sites, and then I will coat my cork and like the flat parts with some sterling mud. Let it dry. Dry brush. Add details. You're off to the races. It's so easy. But let me tell you, if you put a little bit of effort into your bases, like just like painting the rims, doing a little bit of natural stuff, you'll be surprised how much that will hide any sins on your actual model. Whereas, like, if you have nothing on that base, all the effort, all the focus is on that model. So, like,
Yeah.
people will notice more. So just do it. Just complete your models. You know, like complete the bases. You don't have to love it, but just knock it out, and you will thank us for it. I promise.
On that note of not making love in it, another little tip for you. It's got a bit of a brutal truth, and that's just accept the fact that, especially if you're new to painting, your first model is not going to be god tier. Like it's not going to be, you know, the best model ever. You know, like I look at some of my first models and I'm like, what have I done to this thing? What have I done? But at the end of the day, there's only one way to get better at something, and that's to practice. You know, and the more and more you practice, and as we said earlier, if you keep your previously painted models in front of you, you can continually better yourself and pick up on smaller techniques that help you bring out some details. You know, like using washes to bring out details in armor and you know, notches and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like maybe go over your model and figure out what area you would like to improve in, and just do research on that exact thing. So you go, fuck, my edge highlights are so sloppy. Watch a few YouTube tutorials on how to do edge highlights. So I promise you it'll help. Like, it really will. You'll have to practice it. It's not just going to click.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, it's so rare to just be naturally adept at something. But this is the main reason I actually wanted to start this podcast. And that is that you don't have to be good at a hobby to want to do the hobby. The idea of a hobby is that you gain proficiency in whatever discipline it is. So
and just have fun.
Don't let it scare you away. Don't let it scare you away. Enjoy yourself and, like, just grow as a hobbyist. Like, it's the best thing. Don't be afraid to have a shitty looking model, because you'll get better.
Like, honestly, again, looking at back, like, some of my first models, they were just flat. Like, I did no highlights, I did nothing, it was just flat paint. You know, and I've been painting for what, 3-4 years now?
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm old.
Yeah, you're the one who introduced me into it, you son of a bitch.
Sorry.
That's okay. But I look at my models now and, like, you know, I'm adding washes and highlights, you know, to really add depth to my model. And again, don't want to brag, but my rusting effect, oh, so good.
Yeah. No, you did good. You did good, lad.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a fair few good things about Warhammer, and definitely I think community making would probably be one of the bigger aspects of it all, because wherever you go in the Warhammer community, people will be very helpful on giving you tips and things, just like, how do I do this? And people have done it before, been in the same problems, and they will give you advice on where to improve, what to do. But don't be afraid to ask for those things, because people actually genuinely are good people and will try to help.
If you do come across a smelly dickhead of a neckbeard who is an asshole, just accept that they are the minority, not the majority. It's like everything. There'll be gatekeepers and dickheads. Mostly, though, like the vast majority of people are really cool. You know, there's some good communities out there. You know, we want to build one. But there's also the Warhammer community. Those guys are fucking amazing. Like, I hang out there every day. Same with Obi. Bo's there quite a lot too. Like, good guys, all of them. So
yeah, that's how we got introduced to each other, and it's the perfect way to get some new friends from across the world, and hell, you might even end up meeting somebody who lives in the same town. Yeah. It's a small world, even if it is actually a really big world.
Yeah, well, the internet's made it a lot smaller, which is fucking awesome, you know?
Yeah, Warhammer has definitely been a great help to bring people together.
Well, I think it's really good for people who are sort of in their shell a bit more too. Like, I can't speak from my experience because I'm a very fucking extroverted person. Like, I just yeet at people. But I know for Bowen, and I think even you too, Obi, like, this hobby the social aspect of it and just like sharing common stuff with people who maybe also have a little bit of the same troubles opening up and talking to people, it's very beneficial to people like you guys, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, you know, two guys who both probably weren't like super into talking to people. He's now doing a podcast. Like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and I think that's so healthy.
Yeah.
So healthy. Even if you're not, doesn't turn you into a people person. Just the fact, a little bit more social interaction. Positive social interaction is fucking awesome for everyone. Especially with, you know, how tough the last few years have been on the world.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely it.
Alright, well,
Cool.
I mean, I think that's pretty much it for the introductory of Warhammer, to be honest. Like, there will be...
Yeah, I think there's definitely more episodes gonna be coming about
like,
Warhammer.
They're loaded in the shotgun, the episode gun, you know? Ready to go.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, bang!
We definitely would like to hear from other people too, if
yeah.
they are interested in sending us some questions. We should probably set up an email address and add it in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if people want to send us some questions regarding things about Warhammer, about any kind of hobby, just shoot us a message and we'll get to it.
Yeah, we're happy to answer it on the show, providing, like, you know, we don't have 50 trillion, but I doubt that's going to happen at this point. Or any point. So we're happy to help where we can, guys. You know? Alright, well, without any further ado, I think everyone should remember to crank that amp.
And slay that grey.
We are Knights of the Hobby Table. Signing off.
Thank you. Bye.
Catch you later,
Bye.
cunts.